Hey everyone, thanks for your support in 2024. We have a lot of cool stuff coming in 2025, and here are some of the things you can look forward to as we move into next year. In the lead up to The Mandalorian and Grogu in 2026, we'll be starting a full series rewatch of both The Mandalorian and The Book of Boba Fett on exploring hyperspace lanes beginning in October. You can also expect a rewatch of Andor, and we will have reviews of every episode of Andor and the rest of the Skeleton Crew as those come out. Josie will be returning as we continue to rank every Star Wars thing released ever. Reviews of every episode of every Marvel Disney Plus show, including Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, The Eyes of Wakanda, Wonder Man, Ironheart, Daredevil Born Again, and Marvel Zombies, the day after each episode releases, will be available on Beware of Spoilers. We'll be having special event podcasts on 30-minute reviews for the Academy Awards, our 2024 year in review in early January, ranking all of Phase 5 of the MCU after Fantastic Four First Steps comes out, and our 10th anniversary special. Once we complete our rankings of all the Pokemon games on the backlog files, we'll be moving on to Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy. Over on the YouTube channel, you can join in for playthroughs of Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga, Pokemon White, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Blue Rescue Team, Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, Kingdom Hearts Recoded, Mario Golf Toadstool Tour, Sonic Adventure 2, LEGO Racers 2, LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga, and SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom. Want to keep on top of all the new things we have coming? Subscribe at mwpnews.com, subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/@mwpnews, or subscribe to Beware of Spoilers, 30-minute reviews, exploring hyperspace lanes, and the backlog files on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Again, thank you for your support. Good morning and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. I am Adam. It is the 14th, is Sunday, 13, 12, 11, 10. Today's the 9th. Yeah, that sounds right. Today's the 9th. It is the day after the penultimate episode of Daredevil aired. So, because there are only 9 episodes, I believe. Now, I have mixed feelings about this episode. Because, there were so many episodes of this show so far where an episode ends and I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's great. And you're amped to go into the next one. I feel like this is one of the endings that's kind of I don't want to say weaker. It just kind of ends a little weird for me. Because, there's a lot of really cool things in this episode. And we're going into the finale next week. But I don't think they all mesh together as well as they could have. And a lot of it feels kind of rushed. The whole thing with Bullseye escaping, that feels very rushed, that it all happens in one episode. And I feel like that's kind of an odd thing to have happen. The amount of things that need to go wrong in this episode, for him to escape, it's kind of like we talk about this with Jessica Jones. The idea that she is, what's it called? The idea that Jessica Jones there's that episode where they capture Kilgrave. And they have him in this tank, and he can't use his powers. He can't force anyone to make him escape because he's stuck. He is, he's in this sensory deprivation tank. He can talk to people on the outside because there's glass, but because of how it's designed, he can't use, nanorobots or something like that? He can't use that to make people do what he wants. So it requires a series of events to get him out of there, and I'm like, this is just stupid. You have him captured. Why even bother doing this? And it feels kind of the same thing here. Why are we bothering to have him be captured? Why not just have him be on the run? I get you can't have that moment in the beginning where Daredevil almost crosses that line or tries to cross that line and tries to kill him. I get you can't have that moment and then have him escape because it's you threw him off a 3-story building. You attempted to kill him. maybe don't try to kill him by throwing him off a third story. Like, there are other ways to attempt to kill him so you can still get that. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I just feel like could have been handled a little bit differently to make this feel less weird. Because by the time we get to this, I was like, oh yeah, right, he's still in jail. And then he gets out, and then he's a major plot point. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess. Because like, there's so many things that just work very well in this episode. Like, the moment where Daredevil is going to, like, where Matt is going to confront Fisk at the inaugural ball, I was just like, this is exactly what I need from this. This is everything I want, everything I need, everything is going great. The theme music hits as he's walking over to him, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is great. Then you get the dance, the thing with the dance, and even that works. And even the idea of Daredevil taking a bullet for Fisk isn't something that necessarily irks me. Like, I'm okay with that too. I think that also works within the context of this show. I think the issue that I have is, like, that shouldn't have been what we go out on going into the finale. Like, if you go out on, like, I feel like that's something that needs to happen with a good 10 minutes left, and then you need something else to happen. Like, the idea that we're just going to go out on, okay, well, Matt Murdock got shot. It's like, well, we saw a building drop on Matt Murdock, and he was okay. So, like, I mean, how big a deal is this? And again, it's like in every other of these Disney Plus shows, when someone has one of these near-death experiences and then doesn't die, there's usually some vision quest that goes with it. Like, you know, what was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago at about this time, when we had Moon Knight. It was the same kind of thing, where Moon Knight, you know, dies, ends up in the field of reeds, and then has to make his way back to real life. Like, it's designed to give you more information about yourself, and I feel like that would have been, again, not penultimate episode territory, because I don't want to spend the entire last episode with Matt Murdock coming to terms with who he is as Daredevil. I mean, and if it's not what you're going to do, then what was the point? And we'll get an answer for that next week. And I think that's the thing, is that it's like, we're going to get an answer for that next week. But I feel like this episode should have ended with, like, him taking the bullet, Fisk going to the hospital and being like, you know, you took a bullet for me, like, and thank you, because the cameras are there, cameras leave, and he goes, you think this changes anything? It doesn't. I'm still going to come after you if you know. And that would have been a very interesting way to end that. And I think the other issue is, this puts us in a weird place where it's like, and the whole thing where it's like, the idea that he's got these deputized police, like, who are like the worst of the worst of the, the worst of the worst of the police who are out there. Like, it is a really, like, it's a really interesting thing that is kind of not entirely like separate from real life. The idea of these police officers who have multiple infractions of what's the one over here? Police misconduct, like, and they're given this special treatment so that way they can go out and, you know, because they have the misconduct, like, well, you can go out there and do whatever you want. Like, to the point where it's like the police commissioner shows up and they're like, oh, we don't answer to you. Like, you think, like, we answer to Fisk. Like, we don't care what you think. Like that whole scene is great. Like, that whole thing where it's like they have the guy and it's like they're gonna throw his hand in the thing, and it's like, and he comes in, he's like, stop assaulting that man. It's like, no, this isn't assault. And he puts his hand in, this is assault. And it's like, well, either way, no, neither of that's assault in New York. I mean, like, first of all, he was right, it's assault. The first thing is assault. The second thing is battery. There's a difference. And it's again, these little great moments that I think that, like, again, like, tying everything back to Bullseye in this way, in this episode, doesn't feel right. Because it ends up feeling like we're taking a good amount of the episode when we're toward the end, trying to reset and get us into this different mindset where it's like Bullseye is going to be what we're dealing with for the rest of this season. But, like, are we though? Because, like, did he get captured? I didn't see. Like, either way, it's kind of a weird situation, and I don't think it's necessarily well handled. And like I said, it's like, these are all nitpicky things, because again, like I said, like, there are things in this episode I love. Like, I loved when Matt was, what the fuck are you doing, asshole? Like, I love when Matt was trying to, that whole thing at the, when he shows up finally at the governor's ball. That's all great. Like, and again, the dance with him dancing with his girlfriend, whose name I keep forgetting, and then when he susses out what happens, he cuts in with Vanessa, and he has a conversation with Vanessa while Fisk is with his therapist, and it's like, or his girlfriend, and it's like, it's this really great moment for all of these characters, and I think that it all works out so well that I'm here for it. I'm just curious about how they're going to land this plane, and I think that's kind of an important question at this juncture, considering we are almost at the end. We are at the, there's one episode left, I think. So this is episode 8, so we have 9 episodes. There's one episode left, and what is that, where does that put us with one episode left? And I think that's kind of a interesting question to leave us with. We do have another season, and I feel like that might be why we're going to get this kind of cliffhanger ending. This idea that, like, we know we're getting a second season. But realistically, I'd rather we end up in a situation like Loki, where Loki, like, I think, that's probably the closest analog that I can think of from Marvel Studios on Disney Plus for this show is Loki. Because moment to moment, Loki is not great. I don't want to say not great. Let me rephrase that. Moment to moment, Loki is a little bit, like, not as good as I remember it. But when you get to the finale is just fantastic. Like, and the finale being as good as it is offsets some of the things that aren't as good. So it's a weird conundrum that we find ourselves in, where it's like, okay, so if that's where we are, and that's what this is, and we're going to end off with, we're going to end off with, we're going to end off on this cliffhanger. Like, I don't know if this show's going to necessarily stick the landing the way that Loki did, because, like, Loki, like, the end of season 1 is great. Jonathan Majors is what he is. I mean, and we can't really do anything about that, but he puts on a great performance in that final episode. And that final episode is very light on action. It is mostly just Loki talking to Kang. Like, that's really all this is mostly. It's just Loki talking to Kang and being like, okay, well, we have to, if you kill me, then the legions from the multiverse will come and destroy everything. If you leave me intact, then you don't have free will anymore. The TVA will continue to prune timelines, but what ends up happening there? Like, it's a great question to pose for your characters, and it's a great moral moment to leave for the characters. And I think the performance of Tom Hiddleston, and I forgot the actress's name, Sophie DiMartino, I think her name is, who plays Sylvie, and even Jonathan Majors, all put on these great performances in this moment. The issue is, like, is this, was everything leading up to this as good, or is it just the end is kind of making me misremember? And it's that's kind of the issue that I have. Like, this show, I think, has better moment-to-moment stuff that happens, where it's, like, this idea, like, a lot of the things that happen, even, like, with the police procedural stuff, and even, like, the filler episode, for lack of a better word, with Miss Marvel's dad. Like, that episode's great. Like, and I think a lot of that's kind of just gonna be through it. I just don't know if they're gonna stick the landing. And, to be honest, I would rather this show end kind of like a TV show. Like, part of me wants that. Part of me doesn't want this to be wrapped up in a bow, because historically on Disney Plus, when they wrap things up with a bow in the final episode, what ends up happening is you get these episodes that are just entirely third acts. And it's like the entire episode is just what the third act of. If this is these shows end up feeling like a movie. And they're kind of designed to be that way. It's just a 6-hour long movie where it's just the finale is just the third act. Like, you know, we like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The last episode is him taking down the Flag Smashers and all of that. Like the last episode of WandaVision is the fight between Vision and White Vision and Wanda facing off against Sword and Agatha. Like the end of Hawkeye is her facing off against the Tracksuit Mafia and then Kingpin showing up and having to fight Kingpin. Like that's what these shows have been doing. And I think that for this to end like a TV show, even if it doesn't end the way I would have liked, I'd rather it end like a TV show with a concise, nice, neat bow, and then just next season you just pick up with the story, or just like breadcrumbs. Even if it does end where it is this thing where it's like, come back next year, same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll continue this story. I feel like that's kind of more of a win than that. And I think the fact that I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, how are they going to wrap this up in one episode? Because there's a lot of things on the table, kind of speaks to how broken the Disney Plus style narrative is. Because the Disney Plus style narrative is not the same. Like The Last of Us starts Sunday. So Monday morning when we do the episode about The Last of Us and the subsequent Mondays from there, I'm not going to be sitting here every Monday going like, oh, how are they going to wrap this up before the end? And I think that speaks to, what's it called? I think that speaks to kind of this question of what's going on. Like, that's kind of the issue that has to be addressed here, is that it's like, I think the big step forward that they took, Disney, was going back to the more traditional TV writers' room setup for these shows. I think that was a huge win for us, the viewer. That was a smart move. That was something that is going to pay dividends, because I think that if we end up with TV shows that actually feel like TV shows, it's going to work better. Because, like, that's the thing, is that it's like Andor feels like a TV show. And it is probably the best show that Disney Plus has done. It doesn't feel like a movie stretched out over, 12 hours. It's a TV show. But we'll see. We will see. Today is Wednesday. Friday, we will be talking about Sacramento. It's a comedy that I think I saw a few times on the festivals. I didn't see it. I saw it on the programs of the festival circuit over last year, and it's finally getting a theatrical release. So we talk about that on Friday. We may end up doing the amateur at some point. See, the reason why we don't have the amateur scheduled right now is because my movie theater has really shitty showtime scheduled, and I have to, I don't want to go too late. And because what ends up happening is if I get out of work and it takes me about a half hour to get to the movie theater. Fuck me with this train. So if it takes me too long to get to the movie theater, if it doesn't take me that long to get to the movie theater, what ends up happening is we end up in this place where, what's it called? I end up sitting there for a while. And if the movie doesn't start till 7 or 8, then I'm going to be sitting there for a long-ass time. Because the issue is, if I go home, I'm not getting back up again. Which has happened, where it's like I was going to go at 7, I would go back home, and then it's like, oh, well, I'm home already, I'm not going to go back out, so congratulations, we are now not seeing this movie today. So, and it's a waste of gas, too, because the movie theater is closer to my job, and it's on the way, so going out, then back, it's a waste of gas. So, we're just going to, we're going to see Sacramento on Friday because of that. We are going to do The River Has Roots. I know I keep saying that. We are going to do that at some point in the near future. I got to work it into the schedule. I got to see where I can fit it in because I have a ton ton of stuff that we're also doing over on 30-Minute Reviews. Yesterday, I put up the CinemaCon wrap-up podcast where we talk about the news out of CinemaCon. Then on, I believe I have it scheduled for Friday. It's either Thursday or Friday. Well, it's gotta be Friday because I haven't watched it yet. Mission Impossible. We're going to start our rewatch of Mission Impossible, and that will continue through on Mondays, taking over the Monday slot. Next week we have Bookbound, a new indie game on, what was that show? The Backlog Files. We'll be doing Andor weekly on, on Exploring Hyperspace Lanes. And then on this show, we have 2 shows coming up as Daredevil ends. We will be picking up with, what the fuck was the word I'm looking for here? The Last of Us, as I already said, and Doctor Who, both of which start this weekend. So Doctor Who will be Sundays, and The Last of Us will be on Mondays. So, all good things. I'm enjoying all of this. We will see what happens. And I've heard very good things about the new season of Doctor Who. And the variety piece about it, like, come on, like, framing it where it's like, despite the rumors, like, Doctor Who is off to a great start, and it's like, what rumors? Like, stop saying rumors, because all the rumors are racist assholes who are mad there's a black guy as the doctor, and I believe an Indian woman as the companion. Like, that's what you mean, like, or let's just say a not white woman as the companion. That's what you mean. Like, so it's like, again, we've talked about this before on 30-Minute Reviews, the idea of, like, production troubles is something that's not verifiable, but these ridiculous assholes on YouTube can make the claim, and there is no fact-checking for that, because if you're a studio, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Answer every asshole who's like, hey, are there production troubles on this show? It's like, no. There's always production troubles on shows led by, people of color and women. There are never any production troubles on shows led by white men, according to these people. It's the most bizarre thing on the planet. And, it is, there is a conversation to be had about that, because there has been a weird rash of actual production troubles on shows and movies led by and directed by people of color. I think that is, and that I think comes more from the studio. It's the studio side of things where it does happen, because, like, we heard Nia DaCosta this weekend talk about, the edition of the Marvels that came out was not the movie I wanted to make. Like, the version that you saw on screen was not the movie I wanted to make. And it's like, well, who was it that made the decision to change it? Marvel Studios. I have a feeling eventually we will hear Julius Ona say the same thing about Brave New World. Because, again, like I said, when I saw Brave New World, I'm like, I can see there's a movie under here that had something to say. Like, there was something under here that had something to say about a certain person who is currently president, and they Marvel Studios decided to reshoot to avoid that. But unfortunately, that's not, that. And then the same thing with Snow White, where it's like, Snow White, on the record, anytime someone sneezed the wrong way about the movie, they reshot it. Like, to accommodate those complaints. Like, why are you doing this? All you're doing is blowing the budget up for no reason. Star Wars, people complain. Like, that's the thing, is that they're so quick to throw them under the bus. Like, we'll talk about it in an episode of 30-Minute Reviews at some point. But we'll wrap up there for today. Oh, also, over on the Backlog Files, I did talk about the tariffs' impact on the Switch 2 pricing, and I did speculate about what the Switch 2 would cost, because the Switch 2 should have gone on pre-order today, but unfortunately it did not because of the tariffs. If you want to hear my thoughts on that, head on over to the Backlog Files. Available wherever you get your podcasts, and that's where I'll be talking about Bookbound next week. But we will wrap up there for today, and until our next episode, which for this show will be on Friday, unless I do, between now and then, whoever has Rick between now and then, have a great rest of your week.